We're in verse 24, guys. Did you already know that?
Yes.
And all the way to the 27. Let's write that down. For those of you that are new here and wondering, is he always this disorganized? Yes. I'm just not all about addresses and stuff in the Bible, so I'm about the content. You ready? All right, Jesus just got in a boat, and it says his disciples went with him.
Right.
And that's how we ended last week, is about his disciples go with him. Right? So here we are in verse 24. Let's go ahead and read it. And behold, there rose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being covered with the waves. But Jesus himself was asleep. And they came to him and woke him, saying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." And he said to them, "Why are you afraid, you men of little faith?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and it became perfectly calm. The men were amazed and said, "What kind of a man is this, that even the winds and the sea obeys him?" So, again, relating to me in our life always, there arose a great storm on the sea. And if we're getting in the boat with Jesus and going, the first question I would have is, shouldn't we be protected from storms? Smooth sailing? I mean, isn't that what you expect? Get me out of this storm is why you came to Jesus in the first place? A whole bunch of my friends were sitting in a small room they couldn't get out of when they said, "I'm sick of this. I'm going to go the right way, and this will all stop. My life will even out. The waves and the storms will calm down." And these guys got in a boat to go with him, and it got stormy. What's your experience? Mine is that it got stormy. Theirs is it got stormy. And some of us, it got calm, and then it got stormy, and then it got calm. And that's, that's most of us in our day. If we have any time under our belt following or riding with Jesus in the boat, we've seen some storm and we've seen some calm. Amen? Yeah. And here's the thing, it got real stormy. The waves were coming over the boat. If you're in an ocean and the waves are coming over your boat, it's serious. That's kind of serious. You probably can't bail fast enough for an ocean. Right? So what should you do? Someone said pray. Isn't that what they did? They went to Jesus and said, "Help me." Isn't that what prayer is? Define prayer for me differently. Go to Jesus and say, "Jesus, we need help, healing, money, peace, storms to calm. We need to be rescued." I think every time I read this story, I'm like, didn't they do exactly what we're supposed to do? Didn't they do what's expected? Now, he's not doing what's expected. He's sleeping. What's going on? I wish I believed like he believed and slept in my storms, but so far, I haven't had a great track record of sleeping in storms, and I always try to wake him up when I think he's asleep. Don't you know I'm suffering here? Don't you know I'm broke? Don't you know there's pressure? Don't you know I am confused? You put whatever word you want in there. Don't you know I'm mad? Don't you know they're mistreating me? Whatever you want to put in there. Pain. Don't you know? Isn't that that's kind of like the expectation, isn't it, when the storms? We do get in some storms. He's sleeping and we're freaking. And most of us aren't always, every time, know the answer to why he's sleeping and we're freaking. Because then he says, how long do I have to put up with you, men of little faith? And it says he rebuked thee, and I'm thinking he rebuked them, but he didn't. He rebuked the problem. And I thought, how long do I got to put up with you? That's a pretty good rebuke. Men of little faith. But wait, how do you define faith? Going to Jesus and trusting in him. Hey, we're about to perish and we need you. Yeah. So what's the problem here? Why are they men of little faith? Because they woke up Jesus. I thought I was a man of great faith because I try to wake up Jesus all the time. I thought that defined my faith. You getting it? Have I said it enough? Well, it's, this can be the shortest sermon of all time because this is the coup de grace right here. This is the home run. Yeah, coup de grace right here. I'm going to tell it to you. I'm going to tell you what all of us labor from, all of us doubt from, all of us hurt from is the same thing they hurt from, and why they were called men of little faith, and why we have faith that doesn't necessarily work as well as it should is for the same reason. Here is the grand slam. They didn't know who he was. Or they'd have known their boat wasn't in trouble. No matter how bad the storm got, their boat's fine because they got Jesus sleeping in the front. You got Jesus sleeping in your front of your boat, you're going to be okay. And the only reason you don't have peace and you get scared of the waves is you don't know who's sleeping in your boat. You don't know whose boat you got into. You get in my boat and the winds and the waves start going, freak the heck out. We are almost lost. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. I mean, it's almost over. But you get in the boat with Jesus. I've had some waves come over my boat. And I didn't remember who he is. And that was a horrible time. And I'd remember who he is. I've even had a few lately where I remembered who he is, and then I didn't remember who he is, and then I remembered who he is. I got this oscillating sprinkler. It's a lot like my faith. I know who he is. I don't know who he is. It's just like that, too. And sometimes there's very few minutes between the very few minutes. And you know what I'm talking about. It's like, I trust you. You have everything in your hand. What's going on? Oh, well. Oh, yeah. Jesus is with me. That's right. It's your boat. You're asleep in the boat. You told us a bunch of the plan. You created everything. We're okay. You ever read the story about walking on water? That was another storm. That was a different storm. You should read that one again, maybe today. Some people forget this point in that story. He was walking past them. And that storm was killing them too. Now, Jesus wasn't in their boat. He was walking past them. They called out to him and had him come over to the boat. If Jesus is walking past your boat and he's not in your boat, call him over to your boat. Get him in your boat. But once he's in your boat, realize you have God in your boat, and it's going to be okay even when waves are flying over your head when they're supposed to be under your feet. Be hard for waves to trip us up if we would simply remember who he is and what he has promised us. It's hard. It sounds easy, but it is the key. Want to see that again? Yeah. Hope they picked those up. Not bad, huh? The key that opens the door is remembering who he is. Says he's faithful and true. Never leave us, nor will he ever, ever forsake us. Bright morning star. Straight and narrow path. I am the door. I'm the bread that came down from heaven, the light of the world. There's so many more. The author and the finisher of life. The steps of the righteous man ordered by him. When he's in your boat, it may not happen the way you want it to happen. You might not have wanted to be in a boat anyway. You might be sitting there thinking, what the heck do we get in a boat when there's a storm coming? What was he thinking? That's what a lot of us do. We criticize his decisions. Remember what it said in that story before? He got in the boat, and it says his disciples got in it with him. We follow Jesus, and then we complain about where it takes us. Because we don't know who he is. I've had 2 great victories in my life this year. I mean, they were great victories in the worst things that have ever happened in our life together. Probably in my whole life, they're the worst things that have ever happened. They really are. And both times, I was spinning way worse than these men of little faith. I was tornado. And I said, what got me out of it was this very thing. And I'll just tell you, it's exactly what I've been telling you. I actually spread my feet and took a stance. And I declared who he is to me. I decided long ago, 42 years ago, I decided you are good. You are great. That you love me, and I decided to love you. So come hell or high water, I'm with you. Life or death, it doesn't matter. I've had so many things try to raise their ugly head to get me to stop believing that. One of them, a really good friend called me and told me a story about the fire that burnt my house. He was there. And a not good friend who happens to be a whacking hut living in a cave on the hill told me the same story. I didn't buy his story at all. He's just completely spun every day of his life. So I didn't know if he was seeing things or talking to creatures or what, I didn't know if a bunny had told him the story or I didn't know what. So I just kind of said, I hope that's not true. But then a very reliable resource, an official, told me the same story. And it was really hard for me to hold on to who's the Lord of my life. The failure of others is the Lord of my life all of a sudden. And I had to stop again and say, time out. That story had no power over my life. I didn't get in its boat. I don't trust in chariots and horses. I trust in the name of the Lord. Getting in this boat. I could ask 100 times why. I really, really only asked once, why did you want your house burnt? But, and what purpose does this disease cause? What great factor in the universe does this play? And then I realized, that's me being Lord. And I already said I'm not. Right. Let me just tell you what would happen if I was the Lord. Okay? If I was Lord, let me just give you an open window. Let me just slide the window open, right? Shh. Got it? Window's open. You get to see what it would be like with I'm Lord. On some days, every one of you would get to go to heaven. On other days, not even one of you would get to go to heaven. So let's just take that window. Let's leave him Lord and me not. You okay with that? I am. He's good. Yeah, let's all agree on that. He's good every day. I'm not. And we need more of his goodness, and we need more of his holiness, and we need more of that belief in who he is. We need to say it more often when we can feel it, so that when the storm is coming, we have a habit of saying it. And I think that if today we could walk out here with anything is, how many times a day do you say he's good? He is good to me. How many times a day do you think to your talking to your own windshield? How many times a day do you remind him of all the good things that he's done for you? Not reminding him, but really reminding you. You know, you have watched over me, you've led me, you've guided me. You put this person in my life and that person. Well, heck, you put all these people in my life, and it's good. How many times do you practice what you believe about him? The reason getting up the stairs was hard today is because my legs are hurting. My legs are hurting because I'm working with nail bags on, another thing I promised I wouldn't do anymore. But circumstances changed. I'm going to be working with nail bags for quite a while, probably. And my body hurts. It's not ready for that. So it's easy to say, well, why? But instead, it's, you're good whether I hurt or whether I don't hurt. You're good whether this is hard or this is easy. Sliding downhill on a block of ice is really easy. But did you know you're out of control? I used to do a thing called ice blocking. You go buy a block of ice, go to a long grassy knoll. A lot of times 10th tees in mountain courses, are downhill. You're coming out of the clubhouse. You're going down this long grassy hill, and those are so fun. You sneak into golf courses at night and ride ice blocks down their grass. Pretty fun. But let me just tell you, man, once that thing... Oh, yeah, trespassing like crazy. And taking the whole youth group with you and training them. Good. Nice youth pastor. Used to go out and collect cans and bottles to buy the ice blocks. That's how broke we were. Go sliding down ice blocks at a golf course. Anyway, the one thing we all want is a life that's sliding on ice blocks because it's so stinking easy. You just know, gravity, inertia, everything's working for you. And it's so fun. But let me just tell you something. You are flipping out of control. You just miss the crown of the hill and you go this way. It's like, whoa, there's that tree coming. You have no control sliding downhill. Sometimes uphill's better. You have more control. A little harder. But most of us would vote for, I think most of us would vote for a life that's a little uphill, a little downhill. Not too steep either way, but just, a nice, even, you just deal with the problems of your day. And I'll tell you how that life becomes that way. Jesus is good. Following Jesus is awesome. Amen. The best people you'll ever meet in this whole world are people who follow Jesus. Amen. Some of the worst people you meet in this whole world are people who follow Jesus. They don't really follow him. They say they're following him. We're going to read stories of people like that all through the Bible. They follow him along to try to trip him up. They try to get people not to believe in him, those kinds of things. There's a lot of motives for being in the boat with Jesus. These guys here, they were in the boat with Jesus because they wanted to be with him. It already said his disciples went with him. And then he called them men of little faith. He asked that question that's really a stinger. It's like sting, How long must I put up with you? I don't ever want him to say that about me. I imagine he said that about me more than once. I can imagine it. But I don't ever want him to say it again. So if he has, let's just make that the last time. I want to be a man full of faith. And man full of faith comes from the same thing, the coup de grace, comes from that same key. You got to know who Jesus is. And I wish everybody could tell you. But the best way to know who Jesus is, the very best way, is to read what Jesus says and act upon it. Put it into motion. If I could be a person that you would listen to, really, Turn off all the other noise. For a season in your life, turn your phone off. Get a flip phone, man. Get off the internet. Get away from your TV. Stop watching movies. And just turn the noise in your life off and read only Jesus for a little while. Just read the red letters. Saturate yourself with them. You want to be in that boat and know who he is? These guys had his words and it didn't help. They didn't know who he was. All the way to the Garden of Gethsemane, they still were in and out of knowing who he is. Judas sold him for 30 pieces of silver because he wanted him to rise up and deliver him from the Romans because he didn't know who he was. Peter pulls a sword, let's fight a battle, because he didn't know who he was. If you want to be a person that he doesn't say that about, how long must I deal with you not knowing who I am? You really think your boat was in danger while I'm here? Not only because I can calm the storm, but you think we're all going to die? You think God in the flesh dies in a storm? That's the headline, God in the flesh died in a storm? Emmanuel was going to save us all, but he didn't count on the storm. No? You don't think so? Come on. Honestly, that's our first problem. The second problem is the redefinition of who he is, the wrong definition of who he is. I've known in my 42 years of knowing Jesus, when he became real to me on March 10th, 1975, I have heard many people who treat him like a butler. Get the door, Jesus. Dishes? Jesus will take care of it. I command you. I don't think that's who he is in that boat. Others who treat him like their servant, butler. Others who treat him like he's just walking along with them, putting up with whatever they do, cleaning up whatever they do. He's just Santa Claus. He's the Easter Bunny. Some are like Aladdin who do the abracadabra. Rub the belly of the lamp whenever you need a wish made. We treat him and we make him into all kinds of things, and I don't, want to keep going. I just want you to, we have wrong opinions of who is sleeping in our boat during our storm. And I'm not going to stop waking him up. If I need to, I'm going to wake him up. But finally, the point of this story, the final point of this story is really he's hoping that if he could just teach them sermons on the mounts, heal lepers, touch hands, heal servants from being fearfully tormented, and they could see it all, blind people, lepers, demoniacs, healing them all. If he can just do all of this stuff in front of them and teach them sermons on the mount and teach them principles of heaven and show them who God is, tell them of his love for them, that they would one day calm the storm in their own life because they know who he is. And that's really the key to the story. So first and foremost, you need to be in a boat with Jesus. If he's in your boat, it'd be really good if you believed that that he's in control, that you don't have to worry that Jesus in your boat is going to get toppled. But end result being that you become a person who can walk through life carrying Jesus in your boat, knowing that storms will be calmed, seas will obey. The next story, demons will listen and submit to you. That diseases can be healed by you. This is the Christian nutshell. This is the viewpoint. The tunnel vision we need to get is, who is Jesus? Who is he? If you've seen me, you've seen the Father, he said. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Coming on a cloud to rescue you. I almost want to go out and get in danger so he'll come rescue me. If I knew who he was, I might try it. You know what I'm talking about? So for me, the storm is calmed by the statement, he is good. I would highly recommend you spend more time thinking about how good he is and how much value there is in having him in your boat than looking at the things you get. Like, is he going to get me rich? Is he going to make me famous? Is he going to do these things? How about just figuring out who he is and then the natural order of what being his child means? My kids, they do not have to ask permission to enter my house. You do. We do not have to ask permission who are sons to take God's power, to take his authority, to use his name, to ask for things we need. We don't need his permission. He gave it. And if he has made us sons and daughters, then we go in his name. I don't have to ask him, does he want me to be good? Does he want me to be kind? Does he want me to be generous? Does he want me to be loving? Does he want me to be faithful? Does he want me to be righteous? I don't have to ask those questions. Did you pray and ask the Lord today if he wants you not to sin? I don't have to do that anymore. I know who he is. He doesn't want me to sin. He doesn't want me to be unkind or ungenerous. He wants me to be those things. So, back to how long must I put up with you, O men of little faith? Shouldn't we go ask Jesus? Yes, we should. But we also should know who he is when we ask him. And if we know, here's another home run ball, okay? This pitch is put right in the wheelhouse. We should also let that fact of who he is define for us who we are. Who am I? That depends on who he is. Figure out who he is, you'll get a really clear definition of who you are. You can really start working on that one. You can write some thick journals on that one. Who are you? Well, I can go down the Orsillo family tree, or I can go up the God being born again in his image. The new me woke up, his son, his child. I can show you that family tree. One or the other. I think I choose his. Who am I? Well, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. My name is Steve Orsillo. I come in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I come to preach freedom and good news. I come to bring healing and deliverance and truth. Sounds like someone else, huh? Sounds like my Father who art in heaven, whose name I would never dishonor. Doesn't it? That's what knowing who he is should produce. Men and women who stand up and say, I love because he loves. It was never my nature to love, but I love because he loves. He's changed my nature. All of this from a few waves, huh? And so much more. Oh my gosh. Let's just go together to the mountain of the Lord and see what the Lord will do for us. Do you need a new heart? He'll give you a new heart. You need a new brain? He'll give you a new brain. You need some courage? He'll give you courage. You just want to get home? He'll get you home. Let's just go together. What do you think? Yeah? Amen?